Hey everybody, Marcus here. In the seventh book of Plato's Republic, just after Socrates finishes the allegory of the cave, Socrates states that after a man has been dragged out of the cave and has had his eyes adjust to the light of the good, he will, from time to time, be sent back down into the cave. When Socrates' interlocutor hears this, he's astonished. He asks Socrates, why on earth would a man, finally freed of his ignorance, ever wish to return back into the cave? Now, to this, Socrates responds by stating that a man, finally coming to see the form of the good, will understand why it is his duty, his obligation, to return back into the cave. It is his duty to try and free other prisoners still chained in the cave. He will know that it is just for him to do so, and he would be acting unjustly in rejecting this remit. In my video entitled Leaving a Legacy, I proposed that a MGTOW, coming to the end of his years, will surely have some wealth that he will have no use for. It was my suggestion that such a man use this wealth to perform one grand act of the crowning virtue of magnificence, and that this act of magnificence can serve as the culmination of that man's meaning in life. In my video entitled Meaning to Life, Become Who You Are, I describe Nietzsche's insight into how a man is to come to love their fate, and how that fate subtly steers you in various directions, training you with those skills you will need even if you do not understand why. Because when fate finally unveils your purpose, you will come to see why everything that came before was necessary. I have suspected for a while now where fate has been steering me, but with every encroaching year it is becoming more obvious. Now, I plan to spend, the rest of my life fulfilling my philosophical duty, but little did I suspect that my act of magnificence does not need to wait until the end of my life. I plan on opening my own school of philosophy. More specifically, a school that teaches only philosophy. But not only that, an accredited school that is legally able to issue university-level degrees recognized by the state. Now, this itself is not magnificent. This alone is just me going back into the cave and trying to drag people out. Where it does become an act of magnificence is in the fact I have no intention of charging tuition. With the ever-growing costs of getting a degree, if I can educate 20, maybe 30 students in a 4-year period, I will be helping men save anywhere from $800,000 to $1.2 million every 4 years if the average cost of a degree is $40,000. As I plan to do this, exclusively online, I would imagine I would not run short of interest. This ties in perfectly with all 3 areas in my life where I have so far been steered by fate: my software development background, my entrepreneurial background, and of course, my love of wisdom. Now, I do not yet have a definite date as to when I can execute on this, as I am sure there will be countless hurdles to overcome before all is said and done. Some of the costs I already know. Other details are still unknown. However, this is my intention, and this channel is only a sample of what I am capable of. To those who have offered me money or thought about donating to me, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. This video is really for you. But before you ever parted with your money, I wanted to let you know what sort of person you are giving it to and what such a man intends to do with it. I wanted you to know that somewhere, at some time, in some way, your support of me will yield a tenfold return to men who you will never meet or know their names, but that you had a hand to play in improving their lives and making the world just a little bit better for men in general. But outside of fulfilling my remit as a philosopher, my remit to return into the cave to help others, I find that this remit is more important now than ever. The rise of the social justice warrior has seen radical changes take place in many spheres of life over the last 30 years. Nowhere else is it as horrific to behold than the modern academy. From the cohesion of the family to moral positions in regards to, abortion, homosexuality, transsexuality, and now pedophilia and incest. Near to every value previously held as self-evident has been overturned or outright inverted. More sinister, however, are the progressive attacks on thought itself. There is a rot taking hold of the last line of defense of Western culture. Western philosophy. Though many people do not consider philosophy as an economically worthwhile pursuit, it is the source and the heart of Western culture. To erase Western philosophy from the minds of men is to destroy the West at its root. It is Western philosophy, originating with Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, where we derive our instincts for truth, our pursuit of knowledge, science, and from where we derive the very words we use to talk about these things. Aristotle subdivided knowledge into four categories: Sophia, phronesis, episteme, and techne. From Sophia, we derive our love of wisdom and hold wisdom as a value. From phronesis, or in the Latin prudentia, we derive our concept of prudence, practical wisdom, for which spawn our valuing of justice, courage, temperance, and fortitude. From episteme, in the Latin scientia, we derive our word science and our instinct to interrogate the natural world. And finally, from techne, we derive our word technology. It is the Western philosophers and the rich history of Western philosophy that has forged the path from ignorance to everything we love and cherish. If you silence this voice, you silence the force that renews our pursuit of these values. Within the academy, there's a growing aggression for diversity within the philosophical departments. The same cries as elsewhere within the humanities are coming to bear. The curriculum is reforming to include Eastern thought in proportionality greater quantities. Slowly, the Western tradition is being drowned out in favor of mysticism and religiosity, which, well, is the pervasive majority of Eastern thought. If such a coup succeeds, the very concepts upon which we operate will disappear, and with them our ability to maintain any consequent innovation will vanish as well. Who will look for truth when all truth becomes relative? And what will one be able to infer from empirical science when logic itself is defined as oppression? The call for diversity within philosophical departments is not intended to increase awareness of Eastern thought. It is a call to decrease focus on Western modes of thinking, a call to decrease focus on rigor, strict logic, and pursuit of truth. It is an effort to devalue Western philosophical values to the point where they no longer act as the categories of our rules governing truth. Now, I wish to keep this Western tradition alive. I have set up a Patreon account with an ambition to supersede the Academy in whatever limited way I can. As insane as such an ambition appears, it is no more insane than Plato opening the doors to a handful of thinkers to spend their time in contemplation. It is also the way near to all schools have come into being throughout history, not as governmental mandated services, but as the projects of private citizens who truly value the education of the next generation. As each goal is reached, I will expand my operation. The culmination of all goals will be the opening of a degree-issuing institution, limited in capacity, but free of those toxic forces plaguing modern academia. It is my intention to help induct, with the assistance of established philosophers, those who desire the contemplative life into the long debate. Now, let me share with you an encounter I had with the head of the philosophy department of one of the universities in my city. There was a small group of us sitting in a coffee shop, myself and a few professors from that department. I posed the following question to the head of the department. What does a 4-year degree in philosophy at this university actually produce? Now, this question was immediately met with defensiveness and anger, and was all but dismissed with no satisfactory answer given. I pushed the topic, and eventually was given the answer I wanted. I was told that each department had to justify its existence through the production of graduates who would ultimately be able to produce some sort of material wealth. I was told that the 4-year program was structured in a manner as to allow the graduate to aggregate disparate sources of information and from them compose insightful reports. Basically, I was told that a 4-year degree in philosophy results in an effective report writer. How absurd and laughable this goal would seem to Plato when he first founded his academy. If indeed this is what the academy has become, even outside the influence of social justice warriors, then it is clear that it is no longer fit for purpose. A philosopher concerned with material wealth is a contradiction in terms. Philo, the Greek word indicating love or lover of, and Sophia, wisdom, are the root words composing the word philosophy, philosophia, a love of wisdom, not a writer of reports. Now, your patronage is not going to support my living. I don't need that. Your patronage will accumulate towards fees, such as the current €10,000 fee for accrediting a 4-year undergraduate program. Your patronage will go towards the costs of having such a program developed by experienced philosophers, and ultimately, your patronage will go towards creating a real institution in which MGTOW ideas are not only welcome, but encouraged, and these men will get real degrees. We do not need brick and mortar rooms to make this happen. We do not need to wait for laws to change for this to happen. This school is the natural conclusion of my channel, and I hope that together we can achieve something great. Now, I have created a series of goals as part of my Patreon roadmap that reflects things requested from me by my subscribers. Upon reaching $50 per video, I will set up a website to host all my scripts for easy access for those who wish to study them in greater detail. At the $150 mark, I will procure monthly guest philosophers to cover topics I believe are, important for the MGTOW community. At $300 per video, I will publish one MGTOW book annually. At $600, I will publish a biannual journal aggregating research that is either too controversial for mainstream publications or otherwise pertinent to MGTOW discourse. Finally, at $1,000, I will have amassed enough tangible support to begin the long journey of funding the initial setup of my school. Reflectively, rewards for individual contributions will be offered to my patrons. At $5, the patron will receive a free copy of all books or journals I may publish outside this channel. At $25, I will work directly with the patron to set up a customized self-study plan in philosophy. For this plan, I will draw from my various mentors who have been with the subject for decades. The patron will receive a comprehensive reading list as well as links to essays, exegetical texts, and other supporting material for self-study. At $50, the patron will also receive an hour of my time monthly in order to discuss their philosophical development. And finally, at $100, I will provide the patron with my email address, so he may ask me questions, at his leisure, effectively providing a mentor for the patron. Now, if there are affluent MGTOW among my subscribers, I appeal to you. Consider following in the footsteps of men such as Alexander the Great, patron to Aristotle, William Cavendish, Duke of Newcastle, patron to Hobbes, and countless other great patrons to philosophers throughout history. Consider getting involved with me in bringing this school into being, in making it part of your own legacy. We have the power to significantly impact individual men by providing a free, non-gynocentric, third-level degree-issuing institution that will not only save men millions in education costs, but will defend the very fabric of Western civilization through the defense and further development of the Western philosophical tradition. For those with access to larger YouTube channels or journalists, consider using your influence to promote this initiative. Though I will follow through with this plan regardless of the success of my Patreon campaign, this school will come into being much quicker with your help. Now, I cannot see a more suitable calling for a MGTOW man, and no better plan than this to begin rebuilding that which has been taken from men. MGTOW is now large enough to instigate real change, and we need to work towards legitimacy within the perceptions of the general public. As academia is still the prevailing exemplar of legitimacy, and existing institutions are corrupt beyond redemption, it is only natural that such institutions are superseded. Even as a small institution, given the right backers and contacts, we can create a mechanism for distributing funding for research on topics like hypergamy. The options are endless, but remain, mere potential until we as a community decide to take the plunge and act on them. So please consider helping me bring about this school. And as always, go team.